10th greatest team of all time, the 1992 Dallas Cowboys.
Number 10.
You did one hell of a job, and the only thing else I got to say is, how about them Cowboys? Yeah!
How about them Cowboys?
How about them Cowboys?
How about them Cowboys?
They were obnoxious. They were the worst.
This was a team that was 1-15 just a few years ago.
The Cowboys are just rebuilding, and they'll be in the Super Bowl in 4 years.
That's what happens when you're terrible. You start getting great players in the draft.
5 straight losing seasons, along with a plethora of picks from the Herschel Walker trade, paved the way for the construction of the 10th best team on our list.
That might have been the biggest collection of talent in NFL history.
I loved Troy Aikman. I was a big Emmitt Smith fan. And then also Michael Irving. Those were my guys.
Also known as the Triplets, the 3 were talented enough to help the '92 Cowboys make the list, but not yet at the height of their powers to earn them a higher spot.
You feared everybody. It was awful because if it wasn't Emmitt Smith.
Draw play, Smith up the middle. Bounces at the 10, to the 5, cut to the right, cut to the left. Oh, no! Emmitt Smith. Whoa!
And it was Troy Aikman.
It couldn't have been thrown any better.
And if it wasn't Troy Aikman, then it was Michael Irvin.
And who do you think it is? Michael Irvin.
Every element of football, this team overwhelmed every opponent in its path.
The Cowboys played their best when they played the best. Dallas's 23-point margin of victory in the playoffs is second of the teams on the list.
Lo and behold, they were in the Super Bowl in 4 years playing the Buffalo Bills, which they beat handily.
They just dominated the Bills. They scored 52 points in the Super Bowl.
The Bills turned the ball over 9 times.
And if it wasn't for Don Beebe, the 9th turnover would have led to the biggest blowout in Super Bowl history.
Jimmy Johnson's taken his team from the absolute worst to the absolute best in 4 years.
I don't think there was ever a doubt that they were the best team in the league that year, and that's really how you measure dominance.
We're just one number in, and there's already plenty of debate of the ranking.
When you think of the greatest teams of all time, the 92 Cowboys, not so much.
I actually think 10 is right.
10 is probably good for them.
The Cowboys are number 10? Are you guys out of your mind? Who's making these numbers over there? Who's voting for this?
I feel like you're wrong. Who made this list?
The 9th greatest team of all time, the 1968 Baltimore Colts.
Well, if all you know about the 1968 Baltimore Colts is that they lost the Super Bowl to the Jets.
The New York Jets are the world champions. They have upset the Baltimore Colts.
That's like knowing nothing about the 2007 Patriots except that they lost the Super Bowl to the Giants.
Second in total offense, first in defense. Johnny Unitas on the bench.
Instead of Unitas, the man leading the Colts was Earl Morrall, a gypsy quarterback who had worked without distinction for 4 other teams before coming to Baltimore.
With Earl Morrall filling in for Johnny Unitas, they succeeded in a league that featured the Los Angeles Rams with their fearsome foursome defense, the Vikings with Bud Grant coming up and turning into a perennial powerhouse, in a league that still included Vince Lombardi's Packers playing at an incredibly high level.
Hey, it's supposed to be a hell of a defensive club. It didn't look like it to me.
The Colts prevailed over all of those teams.
They were dominant. They were 13-1 during the regular season.
All you need to do is look at the point differential. Phenomenal. They scored over 400 points. They allowed less than 200.
Baltimore's defense just took the ball away from Cap.
Bubba Smith was there to make the stop.
I mean, just think about that, you know?
The average score of a Colts game in 1968 was 28-10.
They had an ungodly defense from front to back.
And that is all Coach Don Shula needed because nobody scored much against the Colts.
The one team they lost to, the Browns, they destroyed in the playoffs.
Baltimore posted 3 regular season shutouts and a 4th in the NFL championship game.
And it's been a very gloomy, gloomy Sunday in Cleveland. But in that great city of Baltimore, ain't the beer cold.
They were essentially an undefeated team, for all intents and purposes.
The 68 Colts were a very good team. They were balanced.
Great running game, killer offensive line, Here comes Earl Morrall, NFL MVP.
This was a team that was in position to become a dynasty.
The Baltimore Colts are heavier favorites to win this Super Bowl game than Green Bay was in 1967 and 1968.
I think the Colts were going up against an unusual force in Super Bowl III. The hopes of an entire football league were on the shoulders of that Jets team that they played.
The ball was right in the hands of Tom Mitchell, popped out of his hands, and sent back.
Face an opponent they had never faced before, a game plan they weren't expecting, from a league that they had never seen before.
Look, they had a mulligan in Super Bowl III.
This game is over. The New York Jets are the world champions in a stunning upset.
They don't deserve to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 anymore, but they do not deserve to be forgotten or left off a list of all-time greats.
The 8th greatest team of all time. The 2004 New England Patriots.
In a heavyweight fight, you can't get the title unless you knock the champ out. And we the champ, and they forgot it.
When I think of the Patriots, whether it's 01, 03, 04, and 04 was the best iteration, I think team. You know, just like team.
Whoever we play next, whoever it is pretty good. We'll need to be at our best, okay? We're just playing Patriot football. That's all we do.
That was a collective, and that is as good as collective as I've ever seen.
04 Patriots are like the least memorable of all the Super Bowl Patriots teams, but they were probably one of the most complete.
This was a team that shut you down defensively.
And immediately dragged down to the 41. And they recover. Patriots have the football.
And they just beat you up offensively.
Brady shoots it long and deep. Deion Brady, he's got it, and he's gone. Touchdown! Tom Brady launches a 60-yard bomb.
That's what was so brilliant. This was the balanced Patriots team.
Look, I can't put you in a game if you don't know consistently what to do. All right? You can't do it. I don't want to hear about what any of the situations are. You just play them.
Belichick's whole thing was building a culture, building a team. But on the other hand, you can also go out and exploit the system like Bill Belichick has and get these bargain basement guys like Mike Vrabel.
McNabb back to throw, the rush, gonna be hit, gonna be sacked. Vrabel came with a vengeance that time.
Corey Dillon running for 1,600 yards.
And Rodney Harrison.
Roethlisberger's back to throw. The rush fires, it is intercepted! Picked off and heading down the left sideline. That is Rodney Harrison.
When you look at the Patriots, this was a team that grabbed spare parts that other teams didn't necessarily want. That's how you have to build a dynasty. Bill Belichick's been doing it for a decade.
The 2004 New England Patriots finished their season at 14-2, boasting the second-best record in the league. But what really makes them worthy of our top 10 list is their total team ascension into greatness.
This is probably the Patriots' best team, and here's why. Because the chart was going like this. You still had the vestiges of the great defense of 01 with an ascending Tom Brady into greatness, and they coincided here in 2004, and that was the most well-rounded of all the Patriots' championship teams.
Second and goal for Philadelphia 4. Brady calling signals, back to throw. Look, fires to the right.
They had an offense with Tom Brady ascending to being one of the greatest of all time.
Touchdown to David Gibbons.
They had the #1 defense.
17 seconds away from back-to-back world championships. Looks, fires left. Intercepted, and that is it. The Patriots are going to be Super Bowl champions again. Back-to-back, 3 out of 4.
And they put it together into one season.
Fans of New England, this is your 3rd Super Bowl in 4 years, and I'm proud that we were able to win stressing team and not individual accomplishment.
The 7th greatest team of all time, the 1998 Denver Broncos.
I think the 98 Broncos are one of the more underrated teams in NFL history.
They probably didn't get the hype as being one of the greatest.
One wouldn't expect a team with Shannon Sharpe on it to be lacking in any hype.
If you leave now, you get a head start on traffic.
Sharpe and the 98 Broncos were coming off the franchise's first Super Bowl victory. And with 19 of 22 starters returning, they were on a mission to repeat.
In order for you to start to be special, you gotta win 2. We wanted to be special. We thought we were special. We knew we were special.
Shannon Sharpe, unbelievable pass catcher. Ed McCaffrey, Rod Smith, John Elway, weapons across the offense.
Even with John Elway missing 4 games because of injury, the offensive firepower of Denver won its first 13 games. But what made this Broncos team so great was not the Hall of Famer under center, but the Hall of Famer in the backfield.
John Elway, he doesn't have those 2 rings without Terrell Davis. And in '98, Terrell Davis is the best player in football.
But, isn't there thoughts of, being the 3rd guy or the 4th guy to break 2,000 yards? Have I ever thought about that? Yeah. You were close last year. Why not?
Nostradamus, Marcus Allen, turned out to be right, as Terrell Davis rushed for over 2,000 yards on his way to being named the MVP in 1998.
Terrell Davis was as dominant a player as the league has ever seen.
The Broncos were so dominant with Davis, the running back would sit out almost 8 quarters during blowouts, or the equivalent of 2 full games. In a season, he rushed for over 2,000 yards.
One more series?
No, I'm cool. Huh? No, just don't take me out.
You know what I remember about this team? I went to that Super Bowl against the Falcons, and it was like the worst game I've ever been to in my life.
Denver capped its season full of routes with another as the Broncos took the Dirty Birds to the Cleaners in Super Bowl 33.
Rod Smith's got it. Here we go. Denver touchdown.
That game was ugly. I thought it was ugly. I thought it was boring. But it wasn't boring for John Elway.
You got to get that defense a roll on a roll. Look what you guys done in the playoffs.
Let's go, baby. Let's go, baby.
Give him a touchdown.
A 34-19 victory cemented the Broncos into the number 7 spot on the top 10 greatest teams.
98 was history. It's got to be one of the greatest seasons of all time.
So they had Davis, Sharpe, Elway, McCaffrey. We're all Pro Bowlers on that team.
In total, the 98 Broncos had 10 Pro Bowlers that season, tied for most on our list. So what's keeping them only at number 7?
I understand Pro Bowls are important. I understand having 10 Pro Bowlers is an impressive accomplishment, but the teams in front of them are pretty legendary.
The 6th greatest team of all time, the 1985 Chicago Bears.
Number 6 on the list, the 85 Bears, is a complete crock.
Really?
Because you're from somewhere else. That's why they're number 6.
85 Bears, you got midway in the pack. 85 Bears? Are you kidding me?
They were iconic. They were legendary.
And they were so good and so dominant.
The monsters of the Midway, man.
The reason that they're great is they weren't just confined to the world of the NFL.
It's a team of sheer characters. We've got Jim McMahon, style.
Outrageousness.
They were so good that their greatness inspired an SNL sketch, the Bears.
The Bears, 85-2.
The Bears, they were Hollywood at the time.
Mike Ditka was a celebrity before coaches were celebrities. He was the sensei.
See that? That's your IQ, buddy. 0.
He just tells you what he thinks, which I think is an important thing.
No, I'd rather talk to him. Mike, I know I'm smarter than that.
Not to beat around the bush and, talk behind guys' backs, go right up to their face.
I don't know how much of a Bears fan I am, but I suppose that I can talk about the ballet and athleticism of the greatest running back of all time. Sweetness.
And then they had William Refrigerator Perry, who was kind of larger than life and just superhuman.
The refrigerator.
And this bear loves the light, smooth taste of Coke.
You gotta keep a lot of Coke in the refrigerator.
What I remember mostly about that was, even though Fridge played defense, they decided to give him the ball a couple times just because he was so big.
First and goal inside the Green Bay 1 for the Bears. Hand off to Perry. Crushes the right side of the line. Touchdown!
It was just this collection of incredible characters.
part of being the greatest team ever in football is you have to be terrifying.
Fear. You were afraid to play them because of total man-like domination and pain inflicted.
They had this dominance on defense.
The whole like junkyard dogs persona.
The Bears defense scared the bejesus out of quarterbacks, and they became like little boys playing against nasty, unfed men that had just gotten out of federal prison after a 20-year run. That's how nasty they were.
Started with good tempo now. Be smart, let's go down, let's pin him in, let the defense go to work.
Their playoff run is disgusting. It's literally disgusting. They play the Giants. Great players on both sides of the ball.
Shotgun formation for the Bears. McMahon, deep pop flies the right side of the end zone for McMahon.
They beat them 21-0. Okay, they play the Rams. Eric Dickerson.
Hand off Dickerson. Hit by Singletary. Back up at the line of scrimmage.
Best running back in the league. They beat them 24-0.
And then in the Super Bowl, they absolutely thrashed the Patriots, 46-10.
The snap to Grogan, the blitz is on. Over the left side, he goes.
Obliterate everyone. That's how you finish the deal and prove that you're the best.
Best on our list? Not quite. With an offense that didn't meet the near mythical proportions of its hard-nosed defense, it's hard to put them any higher than number 6 on our list.
I think that is perfectly rated.
I think that's fair.
That feels a little high for me.
The 5th greatest team of all time, the 1962 Green Bay Packers.
If you're going to be a great team, you have to, from September until whenever the championship game is, you have to dominate week in and week out, and that's what the 62 Packers did.
Just about every game they played was a blowout.
The Packers bulldozed through opponents in 1962, outscoring them 415-148, including a 49-0 flattening of the only team to defeat Vince Lombardi in the playoffs.
Oh, God. That was as thorough a domination as you're likely to ever see in the National Football League.
The first time facing the Eagles since their defeat in the 1960 championship game, the Packers left no doubt who was the better team in this one.
This was clearly Lombardi's revenge.
They outgained the Philadelphia Eagles 628-54 in the game.
The 628 yards, still to this day, is the most yards that's ever been given up by the Eagles in a game.
I mean, remember, there's only, 14 teams in the NFL? You shouldn't have one team that's that far superior for that long.
Despite dismantling the Giants in the championship game, the lack of competition in the NFL at the time prevents the Packers from being higher on our list.
They dominated the championship game.
The Green Bay Packers are the National Football League champions.
The 1962 Packers resume includes a long list of accomplishments that earned them the number 5 spot.
They have what is considered the best rushing attack in the history of football. And by the way, their quarterback led the NFL in passing yards.
In Jim Brown's career, he led the league in rushing every year except 62. Jim Taylor led the league in rushing.
Yeah, think about drafting or acquiring 11 Hall of Famers on one team.
Vince Lombardi, Bart Starr, Ray Nitschke, Jim Ringo, Jim Taylor.
Herb Adderley, Henry Jordan, Willie Davis, Willie Wood, Paul Hornig, and Forrest Gregg gave the Packers a list-high 11 Hall of Famers and one heck of a cast for their Hall of Fame coach to work with.
This was Lombardi's crowning achievement, was to build the 62 Packers.
That was the year the Vince Lombardi Packers became the Vince Lombardi Packers, a team that has trophies and dynasties and everything named after it.
That's the way, all right.
When you say, hey, this was Vince Lombardi's best team, just think about that sentence. This was Vince Lombardi's best team.
That's the best one right there. That was the best one right there.
The 60s will be described as the decade in which the Packers were the #1 team in America.
The former president isn't the only one who thinks this Packers team is ranked too low.
You start wondering if this is maybe the greatest team of all time, certainly in the conversation.
I think this is the greatest team ever.
The 1962 Packers, the greatest team of all time.
The 4th greatest team of all time, the undefeated 1972 Miami Dolphins.
based on what the teams did, no one can hold a candle to the 1972 Dolphins. Undefeated and champions is undefeated and champions.
The Dolphins, they weren't pretty in 1972. They played ball control football, but they played it to absolute perfection. 17-0 speaks for itself.
They dominated in every facet of the game.
Even with an injury to Hall of Famer Bob Greasy, the Dolphins boasted the #1 offense with a rushing attack of Zonka, Kick, and Morris, while the no-name defense was the league's best as well.
Like, if you win all your games and the Super Bowl, that's it. That's the greatest team.
So what arguments could be made for putting the undefeated Dolphins at #4?
If you could go in a time machine, line them all up, they're not the #1 team. I think teams on the list ahead of them would beat them in a one-on-one situation.
Winning percentage of the teams that they played was terrible.
The combined record of Miami's opponents in 1972 was 70 wins to 122 losses and 4 ties. Good for a whopping .367 winning percentage.
You play who's on your schedule. You don't lobby the commissioner and say, hey, we want to be known as one of the greatest teams of all time on an NFL Films documentary 45 years from now.
An undefeated team had to go on the road in a playoff game. It was a little crazy back then.
Come playoff time, the schedule wasn't so easy for the Dolphins, who had to beat the Steelers in Pittsburgh.
So the Dolphins should have had home field. They played at Three Rivers against a team that was about to win 4 Super Bowls in 6 years, and they beat them too.
But an undefeated team in the Super Bowl must certainly be favored to win, even against the mighty Redskins.
The Dolphins got very little respect throughout the season. I think they may have even been an underdog going into this game, despite the fact that they were, undefeated.
That's right. An undefeated team was 2-point underdogs going into Super Bowl VII.
You got it to Miami. You think's got to win.
It got to.
Why?
All this way for nothing, No sense in losing now.
On the grandest stage, the no-name defense pitched a shutout until Garrell's gaffe put an exclamation point on a perfect season. 45 years later, the legend of the '72 Dolphins still spooks those today.
The minute a team gets to like 5 or 6-0, that becomes a weekly obsession.
Our ghosts crop up every year. When anyone makes it past that 5-0 mark, then suddenly the '72 Dolphins ghosts start to appear. And that's a hoot. I like being a ghost.
The third greatest team of all time, the 2007 New England Patriots.
The 2007 New England Patriots cannot be on this list.
18-0 hadn't been done ever. So I think they should at least be 1 or 2.
Who made this goofy list? A team who didn't win the Super Bowl, you guys have above a team that won?
Let's stop right there. There was a lot of debate on this ranking, and we'll get back to it later. First, the case to be made for the 2007 Patriots.
Let's go! The Patriots have won 9 in a row. Patriots are 15-0. And for the first time in the 88-year history of the National Football League, a team has won all 16 regular season games.
They are the best regular season team of all time.
The record books were rewritten during the Patriots' 2007 campaign. The offense put up the most points in a season, and their almost 20-point average margin of victory is the highest on this list.
That team was insane. The '07 Patriots were unstoppable.
It's like Tom Brady had a fine car garage. He's like, oh, I'll take out the Welker today. No. Let me go with the high-end Moss for the evening.
Hey, just look down one side and find 81. Okay. I'm going deep. Brady fires it. Touchdown, Patriots! For Tom Brady, touchdown pass number 50, an NFL record. For Randy Moss, touchdown reception number 23, an NFL record.
But it was the next time the Giants and Patriots faced off that makes this ranking so divisive.
A team was better than the Patriots, and that was the New York Giants. And I can prove it. Put the tape on.
3rd and 5 from their own 44. Manning takes the snap. Back to throw. Under pressure. Avoids the rush, and he's going to fight out of it. Still fights out of it. Now throws it deep downfield. Reed makes the catch at the 23-yard line. What a play by Manning!
They were an insanely good, historically good team, and then the dude made a weird magnet catch by cramming a football against his head. I mean, it happens.
Manning lobs it left. First is wide open. Touchdown, Giants!
The Patriots see their undefeated season go up in smoke.
Every Giants fan is sitting at home going, yeah, that's right. Smell it.
The upset in Super Bowl 42 might have made this the most controversial ranking in top 10 history, where no side was happy.
I feel like you screwed up the 07 Patriots by putting them at number 3. I feel like that's a little bit of a slight.
You guys like messed that up. You put a team that didn't win the Super Bowl at number 3.
I think number 3 is fine. I might even have them higher.
You can't say you're the best ever if you lost the Super Bowl.
It's ridiculous that you guys have non-Super Bowl winners on this list in the top 10. There's only 10 of them. What are we doing?
They lost. They're losers.
I can't stand much more of this. It's a joke. It's a joke.
Let's get real for a moment. Who was really the best? It's the 2007 Patriots.
The second greatest team of all time. The 1978 Pittsburgh Steelers.
The 1978 Pittsburgh Steelers.
78 was a great team.
They pretty much had their most dominant season that year.
There are 27 teams in pro football. And then there are the Pittsburgh Steelers.
The Steel Curtain.
Bradshaw, legend, good friend.
They had 10 Pro Bowlers on that team.
Mean Joe Green.
Rocky Blyer, Jack Lambert. Are you kidding me? Jack Lambert had no teeth, and he had twig legs, and he would eat you for dinner. He was the nastiest linebacker in the history of the NFL. And that was the beginning of the Steel Curtain right there.
When I was a kid, I had Steelers-Cowboys as my vibrating football game, so I can tell you the 78 Steelers were a very good team.
The defense, that was what it was all about. No one did anything against that defense.
Tear that ball loose and get after their ass.
The Steel Curtain Steelers just dominated to a degree that they forced the NFL to change the rules.
Due to the sheer visceral physicality of Steelers cornerback Mel Blount, in 1978, the league prohibited contact with wide receivers beyond 5 yards from the line of scrimmage.
The 1978 team, having made the entire NFL change the rules to stop them, evolved to fit the rules and actually got better.
In 1978, Terry Bradshaw was football's most prolific passer.
That opens things up for Terry Bradshaw and Lynn Swann and John Stallworth to beat you with the passing game that you opened up for them.
Bradshaw is back, and he's going to Swann, and Swann makes a circus catch.
Obviously, the defense was dominant no matter what, but the 1978 team can suddenly beat you with short passing, long passing, Swann, Stallworth, balance.
Bradshaw gets it flat for the touchdown, straight down the middle.
This is the team that has the complete package, the package that we think of nowadays as a modern NFL champion that can do everything.
Anytime you look at any great team, how about who they had to beat? You know, who did you have to beat to win it all? The 78 Steelers played a Cowboys team that had already been to the Super Bowl 4 times during the decade and just won the Super Bowl in a blowout the year before and had Hall of Fame head coach, Hall of Fame quarterback, Hall of Fame tailback, and then guys on defense. I look at that and I'm saying that's why I think Super Bowl 13 is just an amazing game in NFL history.
Bradshaw was the MVP of the Super Bowl.
Bradshaw hesitates and then throws deep for Stallworth in the end zone. Touchdown, Pittsburgh, Johnny Stallworth. Bradshaw rolling to the right. He throws on the move. Caught for a touchdown to Rocky Blyer.
The Steelers dominated the game.
I'll tell you, I'm out of breath because this is some kind of a Super Bowl. Staubach is back deep, and he winds up and throws. Intercepted by Blount at the 20. Mel Blount came up with the interception.
They had the best defense in the NFL. They were blowing them out. Cowboys could do nothing.
Swann, unbelievable catch for the touchdown. Holy smoke, 18 yards, and they strike again. He looked like a flying circus, and the Southern Cal Flyer pulled it in.
I think that this was probably the best concentration of talent in Pittsburgh. It was all able to come together in 1978.
And when you're the best team of an historically great dynasty, you deserve to be number 2 on our list.
First team in the history of the NFL to win it 3 times.
The greatest team of all time, the 1989 San Francisco 49ers.
The 1989 San Francisco 49ers.
The 89 Niners were great. They just cut through their entire schedule.
Black 59 Razor! Black 59 Razor! 39 South.
Drops back to throw. Pump fake by Montana. Launches it for the end zone. Jerry Rice! Oh, what a catch by Rice!
Joe Montana, Jerry Rice.
A perfect pass to Jerry Rice.
They felt like they were the best team in football.
We know we're the best team!
And they couldn't be stopped.
The 49ers were the best. They were unbelievable. They dominated that league.
Back-to-back Super Bowl champions.
Well, you start with the fact that if you go to their backup quarterback, you get a Hall of Famer. You have Joe Montana and Steve Young out there, so this team will crush you with this backup quarterback.
That was kind of the Niners at the height of their powers player-wise. Joe Montana was locked in. Jerry Rice, the greatest receiver ever, was in his prime.
Right over the shoulder catch.
You hear it all the time, Montana to Rice, Montana to Rice.
But then you get Roger Craig.
Man, I'll tell you, Roger Craig can do so many things for you.
A discouraging run for the defense by Roger Craig. He knocked a couple people down, knocked a couple of his own players out of the way.
I just remember thinking, this is a well-oiled machine. This is how a well-oiled machine works.
Goes for the end zone. Jones, touchdown 49ers!
It was like watching a ballet. Agile, so elegant, beautiful to watch.
Just complete control of the offense.
The league's #1 offense in 1989 was not only potent, but efficient. Joe Cool had one of the greatest passing seasons in NFL history, completing over 70% of his targets, which makes you think, if they were this great on offense, who did they have on defense?
We all overlook who's on the defensive side of that ball. Up and down the defense, you had great players.
Oh, my goodness. Charging through, makes the tackle.
You have Charles Haley, who is just an unstoppable force on the pass rush.
Pressure by Haley, and the ball slips out of his hands.
You have Ronnie Lott, who at this point had gone from just this terror as a cornerback to a complete defensive back who could beat you a dozen different ways in the secondary.
Ronnie Lott intercepts. He's in for 6 points for San Francisco.
Without the legendary offense, that 49ers defense might have just won him a Super Bowl.
I think there's something to saying that a dominant Super Bowl performance helps elevate you to this list.
It's always Joe Montana. You can't deny what he did in that Super Bowl.
That wasn't a slouch team, that Denver Broncos team.
It was a dominating performance against a John Elway-led team with great stars.
And that game was over before it started.
Montana rolls to the right, comes back across the middle, complete to right, into the end zone, touchdown 49ers.
It was almost like jiu-jitsu.
Precision, knowing where the third and fourth receivers are, it's a clinic.
Just sheer efficiency.
They had 8 touchdowns in the Super Bowl.
The Broncos defense had no answers.
They put 55 points on the Broncos. It was ugly.
Caught by Jones to the end zone, touchdown.
That 89 team, that was a coronation.
Throws for the end zone, Taylor, touchdown 49ers.
Definitely deserve to be on this list. They're an amazing team. I think he got him too high.
No, this is the team. This is the team.
That is the greatest team of all time ever built.
I don't think anyone can really argue it.
They took the governor off and just blew it away. Greatest single-season team of all time, 89 49ers. Love it.